When Derek Whitman walked into a room, people noticed. Not because he said anything particularly clever or wore flashy clothes. He wasn't rich. He didn't drive a sports car or flaunt an expensive watch. But women looked at him differently. Men often paused, unsure why they suddenly felt the need to correct their posture or lower their tone. Derek carried something invisible yet magnetic. Something you couldn't name but you could feel. It wasn't always this way. Derek, now 36, had spent most of his 20s struggling with rejection, low self-worth, and a quiet resentment for men who seemed to just have it. He remembered sitting alone at bars watching guys who didn't even try, yet still drew attention from women. Derek thought he needed better lines, a better body, or maybe even more money. But everything changed the day he met Leonard. Leonard was in his late 60s, sharp as a tack, and dressed in a simple gray coat and slacks. Derek had just been passed over, again, by a woman he tried to strike up a conversation with at a coffee shop. Deflated, he took a seat on the park bench nearby. Leonard was there, sipping black coffee, reading a tattered paperback. He glanced at Derek and offered a simple nod. "You're trying too hard," Leonard said casually without looking up. Derek blinked, unsure whether to respond. "Excuse me." Leonard finally looked up. His eyes were clear and calm, the kind that didn't need to convince anyone of anything. "You're trying to be liked. That's your problem." Derek chuckled bitterly. "And what I shouldn't?" Leonard smiled gently. "You shouldn't need to." That brief interaction turned into hours of conversation. Derek learned that Leonard had been a Navy officer, a husband of 40 years, and someone who had mentored dozens of young men over the years. He spoke not with arrogance, but with presence. Grounded. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He simply was. Leonard explained something Derek had never fully understood. True masculinity isn't loud. It's not about chasing validation, being aggressive, or proving anything. Real masculinity is stillness. It's rootedness. It's presence. And more than anything, it's about how a man feels about himself, not how others feel about him. "Women don't fall for the loudest guy in the room," Leonard said. "They fall for the one who doesn't need them to." It sounded paradoxical, but it stuck with Derek. Over the next few years he changed. Not all at once, but steadily. He stopped pretending to be someone else. He stopped chasing. Instead, he began building, not just physically but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. He invested in understanding his values, his boundaries, his purpose. He began waking up early, not because it was trendy, but because it brought him clarity. He took long walks, meditated, and journaled. He set clear goals for himself and made daily progress. He read voraciously, trained regularly, and kept his word, even when no one was watching. And most importantly, he stopped talking so much and started listening more. A strange thing began happening. Women approached him. At first, it was subtle. An extra glance, a warm smile, a light touch on the arm. Then it became more obvious. They wanted to know his story. They asked him questions. They leaned in when he spoke. Not because he was saying anything revolutionary, but because of how he made them feel. One evening, Derek was invited to a gallery opening by a friend. The space was full of high-achieving professionals, well-dressed and full of energy. Derek arrived in a navy button-down, fitted jeans, and clean boots. Nothing flashy. He walked in with a calm confidence that didn't need to prove itself. He stood by a painting, sipping wine, observing the piece without speaking. That's when Madison approached. She was elegant, sharp, and used to being the center of attention. But when she saw Derek, her interest peaked. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't laughing too loudly or positioning himself to be noticed. He simply stood still, appreciating the art. "What do you see in that?" she asked, standing beside him. Derek glanced at her and smiled softly. Stillness. Depth. Something most people rush past without ever really seeing. Madison was caught off guard. Most men complimented her, tried to charm her. Derek was different. He didn't try to win her over. He let her come to him. They ended up talking for over an hour. He didn't dominate the conversation. He asked her about her thoughts, her work, her passions, but he never tried to impress. And she noticed. She told her friends later that night. There's just something about him. That something wasn't looks, money, or charm. It was presence. Presence is the masculine secret no one talks about. It's a man who knows who he is, what he values, and where he's going. It's a man who is comfortable with silence, who doesn't need external validation, and who listens more than he speaks. It's the man who can stand still in a room of noise and be noticed, not for what he does but for who he is. Derek's transformation wasn't magical. It was intentional. He realized that the most attractive thing a man can offer isn't clever words or flashy moves. It's the energy he brings. When a man is grounded, self-respecting, and emotionally stable, women feel safe around him. They feel seen. They feel curious. Years later, Derek shared his story at a men's retreat. Younger men sat in silence as he spoke. They asked about techniques, tricks, and tactics. But Derek smiled and told them something they didn't expect. You don't need tricks. You need clarity. Know who you are. Honor your word. Control your emotions. Protect your peace. Everything else will follow. One of the men, Jason, asked him, "But what do I say when I meet someone? How do I start?" Derek leaned forward and said, "You don't have to say anything until you're ready. Sometimes your silence says more than 1,000 lines. If you're calm, authentic, and self-assured, they'll come to you. And when they do, don't perform. Just be." That night, Jason didn't try to be someone else. He walked into the group dinner with ease, spoke less, and listened more. He didn't force a smile or a joke. He was just there. And sure enough, by the end of the evening, 2 women approached him. Not because of what he said, but because of how he carried himself. Years later, Jason became a coach himself. He always credited Derek's words for changing the trajectory of his life. The truth is, women are intuitive. They notice subtleties. A man's energy, posture, and eyes speak volumes. When a man is grounded in self-respect and moves with intention, he exudes confidence without arrogance. That kind of energy is rare and powerful. So if you're wondering how to attract women without saying a word, the answer isn't a mystery. It's not found in a pickup line or a dating app trick. It's found in your essence. In how you treat yourself. In how you walk, breathe, think, and feel when no one's watching. Derek didn't just become more attractive to women. He became more respected by everyone. Because presence is universal. It transcends charm. It commands attention without demanding it.